Hi everyone and welcome back to WARNO. Today we've got our next game in the 2v2 tournament castings. Today we are getting to see MaxVerstappen versus the RKKA, which is Hippie and George Patton versus Karma and Ambert. Again, Karma and Ambert, very well known players to the community. Obviously, I'm expecting them to do well in this match, but equally Hippie and George, quite active members of the community. So they've been playing quite a lot as well. Let's get this show on the road. So over on the right hand side of the map we have Ambert at the top and Karma at the bottom playing as Red 4 even though they're in blue. And over on this side we have George Patton at the top and Hippie at the bottom playing as NATO. Hippie is playing as the 3rd Armoured Division, George as the 8th Infantry, Karma as the 79th Tank and 39th Infantry for Ambert. So that's basically infantry against infantry and tanks against tanks at the bottom. I know straight away there's some fighters out for Ambert and Karma, obviously trying to fend off any early attacks by cluster bombers, though they haven't been utilised on this occasion. Rangers heading towards the centre there just to get some early eyes on. Also a couple of anti-chopper choppers. Plenty of infantry from Hippie heading straight towards the centre here. Certainly planning to push in there as quickly as possible. And to be honest, getting a foothold on that point is paramount to probably beating Ambert and Karma. Karma bringing in quite a few units down the bottom here. Certainly more than what they have in Golf. There was a cluster in there. I'm not sure if it actually dropped its payload. I'm not sure why that came in. It has been killed though. I'm a little bit unsure about that. Bit of a clash of the titans in the middle here. Lots of infantry from both sides. Motor Strelky versus military police. And there is a Bradley firing at the Motor Strelky there from the back. Motor Strelky obviously better infantry overall, but numbers here, due to that Bradley doing quite a lot of damage, are probably in the favour of Hippie. Over here we do see that Karma is making a little push out. Not a huge amount of units there for Hippie at the moment. Obviously the majority of his forces in the centre. George has a significant number of troops in Alpha. That should be fairly well defended. Ambert is a little bit more spread out with a front line pushed further forward. I do notice George has got some units here and obviously those scouts that he dropped off early game. Cluster coming in there, doing a little bit of damage to the vehicles. I would say currently it does seem to be slightly in the favour of Hippie, though that T-80BV making a bit of a difference. And equally, that's the end of that Bradley. That Bradley was doing a really good job, but that SU-24 cluster just doing so much damage to that area. Karma is making a push at the bottom of the map as well. Taking the fight to Hippie. Obviously aware that Hippie has expended a lot of points going into the centre. Not a huge amount of movement from George Patton. It is difficult to know exactly what Ambert has up here, but realistically I think the ideal situation will be that if George were to push this point, he would actually overwhelm Ambert and force him to relocate forces, because at the moment it is not looking good for Hippie in the centre. The nice thing is that they are getting a little bowstring of points early on as they have +5, as Karma has not yet capped this bottom point. It has obviously not been a priority. Karma not giving up. He is pushing this point. He has lost a few units, but perhaps expects that there is not a lot there. Hasn't met a lot of resistance. And unfortunately for Hippie, he has lost a lot of his forces in the centre of the map. If we zoom right back out, no one's got any units behind anyone at the moment. Plenty of planes coming in. That one looks as if it's almost checking. If that wasn't a mistake, it's almost checking to see what anti-air there is. And it is going to get out alive. So that means that Ambert certainly won't be too afraid to bring in a bomber if necessary. George is pushing forward a little bit here, but not with a lot of units. Ambert bringing in more forces now, heading towards the centre with those. Obviously, at the moment, Ambert basically winning the centre with that tank more than anything else, I think. However, he has not dislodged that commander as yet. Down here at the bottom of the map, I noticed that T-64 has pulled right back, has taken some damage, and Abrams is coming in now for Hippie. A little bit sparser on the ground for Karma than it was a few minutes ago, I believe. Do notice Radvedska getting quite far through the middle of this area. We'll be able to see what is coming in at the back. Not a lot of units coming in at the moment for Hippie. We'll need a lot of forces to be able to hold and or dislodge what's going on in the middle here. Karma's still not bringing... Oh, there is a command vehicle there. I was about to say. Still hasn't capped it, but there is a command vehicle there to do that. No command vehicle for the centre to neutralise it, though. Ah, as I speak, there is one coming in now, BRDM-2. Cluster bomb being used to good effect there. But Karma paying plenty of attention, noticed that coming in and moved his tank out of the way. And that is another important skill, is to learn when you're playing against someone who is going to be paying close attention to their tanks, to even retarget your clusters so that you're aiming to where they might move them in a defensive panic, not knowing exactly where they'll land. So most people will assume that you're going to bomb the location they're currently in, not where they might move it to. Obviously, it's a bit of guesswork and hoping that they actually move in that situation. Karma making a strong push here. T-64 hitting the infantry rather than the tank, though I don't think those two tanks can see each other at the moment. Plenty of bombers coming in for Karma there. They have lost their commander in the middle, sadly. And Ambert is pushing quite aggressively through there now. Reinforcements coming towards the centre from George Patton. And George has made a good attempt here, has managed to push his units up a fair bit compared to where they were. But really, unless he can push into this point and really distract Ambert, then Ambert is sitting pretty good at the moment. He has a firm grasp of the centre. Karma is being quite aggressive at the bottom and is successfully pushing Hippie back. Very effective push from Karma. Obviously two very skilled players. Very good at micro. Very good at managing all their units well. Not a team I would want to go up against, nor would I survive this long against. I think that either one of them would have stomped me already. Unfortunately, that CEV is not going to do much against another tank. Will be very good against the infantry, but those 264s are going to do a lot of damage to those. Military police coming in. That is a good choice against those tanks at close range when they're getting near buildings. I feel like at the moment, zooming out, lots of forces here from Ambert. Quite a few sort of scattered around there. Not a huge amount for either player on the bottom, but Karma using his units very effectively. There's another T-80B in there now. He has lost one of his T-64s, however. Oh, nice from Hippie there. Abrams at the back managing to take out the other T-64. Karma retreating his T-80B. There's a cluster strike coming in there. Almost caught it. Almost caught it. Good effort from Hippie there. He has managed to stop Karma's assault and cost him some fairly expensive units in those 2 tanks. Up at the top of the map, still an ongoing skirmish here. BMP-3 being used to good effect with its dual cannons. And bombers as well. That's the only thing here. There isn't a huge amount of air defense. A couple of chaparrals, a stinger. There's another stinger there now, but it is only just moving into position. Looks like Ambert has won the little war in that area for now. Quite a number of troops hanging around this side from George Patton, and a tank from Hippie. Obviously they will want to do some kind of coordinated assault to try and get another foothold in that point. Points ticking up very slowly now for Ambert and Karma. Hippie and George doing very well to get as many points as they physically could at the start. At least it gives them that bonus, so that if they do manage to cap that point in the middle again, it just gives them a little bit of advantage. Right now I'm looking at what units are down here. I've got to be honest, in my head I would kind of want Hippie to attack, but I also think that he doesn't really have the forces to do it. There are more forces coming in for Karma right now. That tank is probably the biggest issue, though that M1A1 should be able to deal with it. But just as I sit here and look, I'm wondering, would he have enough units? Possibly, with all of the infantry that's there, if he committed it all, and that's the thing, it would certainly be an all or nothing attack at that point. CEV's getting a couple of shots off there, really good. Hippie is paying attention. Make quick work of those reinforcements. I'm not sure Karma wanted them to go that far forward. Perhaps they were called in before he got pushed back. There is that anti-tank Mi-24. And unfortunately at the moment, good use of a HE bomber there. 2 of them in fact. And a cluster bomber coming in now as well. Heading in the middle, going for that Abrams. And a second one. So powerful, those Su-24s right now. Here in the middle, or the bottom I should say, really good effort from Hippie here, but that anti-tank chopper just nullifying his vehicles, to be honest. Really needs some anti-air up there. There's a Stinger C coming in. Bomber after bomber being used. They have such a short reload time in some respects, and they are so effective right now. Really, AA needs another improvement to be able to kill them, or at least make you think twice about going in for bombing runs like that. I mean, I must admit, I don't think in Wargame I would be quite so slapdash about sending bombers in constantly. AA just feels like it poses more of a threat there. If we zoom out, we can see there's still that significant cluster here. Plenty of forces up here for both sides, though it does appear to be Ambert who is the aggressor and is slowly pushing further forward. Now you'll notice one of the most important things you can do in this game, the same as in Wargame Red Dragon, is scouts, and I expect that's the same in Steel Division. You need to get scouts forward, and you'll notice that at every point while we've been playing this, scouts are always leading the way for Karma, scouts are always leading the way for Ambert, those recon units. When Karma was attacking this point, before he even got over this, he had scouts in this tree line here. And it's always about seeing what the enemy is up to. Honestly, I find scouting a bit weird in WARNO. I'm not sure if it's quite there yet, but it's so important in Wargame. So it's going to be the same here. Lots of reinforcements coming in at the bottom of the map for Karma. George and Hippie sending the majority of their reinforcements to the center, to be honest. Plenty of Stingers coming in for anti-air cover to stop those bombers, or at least try and dissuade them from attacking. I will note that all of these Stingers are only trained. They're rank 1. They really need to be rank 3 to be getting the targeting advantages and accuracy that we've seen in other games to make them so effective. Ambert slowly pushing ahead here. Lots of fighters in there. Oh, Chaparral is going for that anti-tank chopper. Fortunately, not killing it. I think it had landed and they attempted to hit it with that artillery piece there. No one with anything around the back of the enemy base. Neither team going to those lengths to get recon around the sides and around the back. Karma has again made it to these buildings, or ruins as the case may be. Lots of forces still back here for Hippie though. He still has those CEVs. Oh, really effective use of those bombers. Really effective. It's just a constant stream. Anytime that something is visible, the bombers come in. And being unable to shoot them down effectively at the moment really makes them so powerful. Ambert's kind of halted his little push at the top now. I notice there are lots of mech rifles coming in for George at the top now. Perhaps George is intending to do his own little push the opposite way. Lots of stingers, lots of rifles. Military police as well. Artillery being used on a Gaz of all things. I expect that was just the visible unit that could be seen, so they opened fire on it. Could be that the actual artillery piece is set to auto fire. Karma continues to slowly push forward here. Sort of stagnated a little bit at those buildings. T-80B there is about to get hit with clusters and is dead. Good use of clusters by Hippie and George. Nowhere near as many bombers coming out for them as there have been for Karma and Ambert though. Centre still firmly in the hands of Ambert at the moment. There are a number of forces down here, including a command, but they aren't necessarily moving in as yet. I think the whole bombers coming in constantly in sorties. Notice that clusters are coming in again. 3 Su-24 clusters coming in, going after those tanks. I mean, nothing's going to survive that. The spread on those things is ridiculously good anyway. It's so tight compared to the F111. Abrams did manage to survive. 2 T-80 tanks, a BV and a U there for Karma. Oh, there are so many units just sat still. In these, are they out of the vehicles now? I think some of them are in, some of them are out. I just so wish he would get them out and push, because a huge distraction up here would cause them all kinds of problems right now. There just seem to be a lot of forces clustered there. I mean, if we zoom out, look at the build up there. This is much more spread out. There's a huge force there, not a lot here, and then a lot of forces here. Not a lot at the bottom, unfortunately, for these guys. Hippie struggling now a bit with the amount of forces that Karma is sending. I'm not entirely sure what that artillery is being targeted at. I see some mortars in as well now. There is a little sort of push into this point by George, but I mean, that's a stinger, that's a stinger. They're not going to do anything versus all of these forces from Ambert. They're way too far forward, unfortunately. I know they want to hit the bombers coming in, but they're just not going to survive that fight. Lots of mech rifles in now for Hippie, trying to stall that assault. However, really effective use of this AT chopper that continues to survive. Lots of artillery and mortars hitting the middle now. unfortunately not hitting very much. Ambert now pushing his forces out, strengthening that foothold on that point. All these units here, just military police moving down there. I'm not sure where they're going. I assume to these buildings. But all of these mech rifles and things still just sat in their vehicles. Stingers as well. I mean, the Stingers I'm not so fussed about, admittedly. I think, are they all out now? Yes. The Stingers are all out of their vehicles now. But these mech rifles are still there. They could be used to push. They just sat there doing nothing. And that's the thing. If you call something in, you need to be doing something with it in this game. You can't just call it in and then sit it out the way. Especially when there's combat going on. Especially when you're on the back foot. Karma and Ambert obviously pushing ahead in points now. It is slowly ticking up because it is only +3. Karma's ideal situation, I suppose, actually, is to take this point here. Ambert is mainly focused on holding that middle point. He would have probably liked to take Alpha, but it is a hard point to take because of all the buildings. It's much easier to push into Golf down here at the bottom. Constant stream of jets, clusters, HE bombers. Very effective against everything, basically. Hippie doing his best to try and hold on to this point, bringing in more reinforcements. Up against some MI8s there, which have been dropping off infantry. Also still up against that AT M24V. Making good use of its Gatling cannon. Also now shooting at that Abrams that's coming in. It is taking fire, but it's fairly resistant. I'm curious whether he's going to pull that out or just leave it there firing. Loads of reinforcements coming in for Karma into this point, determined to push it and take it. Completely stagnated at the top here. George, you've still got all these units. I'm sure George has just forgotten about these, unfortunately. I don't think he's deliberately leaving them there. I think he's forgotten about them. The thing about Karma and Ambert is they're very capable of covering multiple areas at once very quickly. Very experienced players. And the only way to match that is to keep them less focused on one area. If they're focused on one area, they're going to outmatch you in that area. You've got to try and spread them thin as well. I think that in the grand scheme of things, they might still win you against you. You know, they are that good. But if you can stretch them, then at least it's dropping their focus. If you can stress your opponent out in any way, shape or form, it's to your advantage. Loads of mortars and artillery there. 3 mortars, 1 artillery piece, another artillery piece here. Unfortunately, not doing enough. Those bombers are just so much more effective. Another Abrams coming in there, getting very close to the front lines, unfortunately. It's one of George's. I think he's realised that it's probably in a bad position. 2 T-80Us coming for it there. Will not survive a fight with both of those. Took a shot to the side, killed immediately. I mean, I think it's been safe to say for a little while that Karma and Ambert have won this one. As expected, you know, they're probably heading to the final, as Razman and Pixie probably are as well. You can see that when you look at the teams and who these very experienced players are. But very well fought from Hippie and George. They did so well on getting those points early on. Hippie surrendered there. But they did so well getting all those points early on, they just weren't able to hold. It's unfortunate that George wasn't a little bit more aggressive at the top initially. I'm sure that that would have thrown Ambert off and made him unable to commit quite as many forces to the centre. But the use of cluster bombers and HE bombers, the SU-24s, just such a powerful tool in this game right now. Still need some balance patching for these things. And that's part of what this tournament is about, is showing these things off and saying to Eugen, look, this doesn't work, it's way too powerful, you need to make AA more powerful, or you need to change how these planes work. Major victory to Ambert and Karma. Kills wise, you know, there isn't a huge disparity there. Hippie did a really good job, as did George Patton. It's just, unfortunately, they were against two of the best. But they did really well, especially in the early part of the game, to get all those points. Again, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope that was entertaining. I'll see you all soon for our next game in this 2v2 tournament.